Hi, Lacey.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to do this Facebook Live video because I know that this week's topic is a difficult one. We named it "No Slave to Desire." That's the name of the topic, and it has to do with a lot of the philosophical ideas going around in our culture that are pretty destructive, and I think that's what I wanted to point out with this study, is that I believed these lies, that just certain things that I wasn't aware of about sexuality and what it was for, and also just recognizing I had been through trauma in this area of my life in certain ways, and it warped my view of what it was intended to be. Absolutely. And I'm inviting. This is my friend Andrea.
Hi, everyone.
She's like a spiritual mom to me. I adopted her as my mom. I don't know. She's
Adopted whom?
I think I did her. Eventually, she came along. Was going along with it, but Andrea's from Hungary originally.
Yes.
So that's where the accent comes from.
Yeah.
And she is also brilliant and has a great story herself of how she came to become a Christian from a communist country as an atheist before.
Yes.
And so we get along about a lot of these deep questions that we have about life and suffering and different things that we just connected over. So I had Andrea write a little letter in the mystery. If you guys read the mystery, she wrote one of the hero notes. And I said, what would you say to your younger self if you could give yourself any advice? And it was really good what she wrote in there. She's like, I don't know what I wrote in there. So.
Yeah, I should have looked first.
It's been a while. But I don't know. I didn't bring you here to talk about that. But I do remember one day I had become friends with the drummer for the Arrows, which is a band that's sort of disbanded, I guess. Her name's Christy. And we had become friends, and she's from South Africa. And in South Africa, there is a huge epidemic. And she goes to a church that has a ministry to rape victims. And rape is a huge epidemic there.
Yes.
And this week in our study last night, our Bible script video was actually a passage that talks about a rape. And I know that it's a really heavy topic for many people because of trauma that they've gone through, or that people that they love have gone through. And when I was talking to my friend Christy on the phone about what their church does to minister to these victims, they're very young. Sometimes lots of them are children.
Very young children.
And so my first reaction was just to weep uncontrollably at what she described to me. And we kind of know this in our head, and we know bad things go on in the world, but when it becomes personal and you're talking to somebody who's actually involved in the healing process, it hits you fresh and painful, like this is what it was for me. And so I was weeping uncontrollably, and then I thought of you, because my question was like, how can God watch these terrible things happen? How can he let these things happen? And the reason why I even had such a strong response was because my heart was totally full of God's love for people. It was his love that made me love people anyway. It was his love that taught me that this should be something sacred. And here it is, this terrible crime. And if God's the one that taught me this is a crime, if God's the one that made me love people in such a compassionate way, then how could he also let this happen when he's sovereign? I mean, so I called you weeping.
Yes, I remember.
And I couldn't breathe. I didn't even know how to talk. You're like, are you okay? Did somebody die? What's going on?
It sounded like that.
And I finally just was able to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this thing, and I'm invited to go to South Africa and talk at this church, and they have this epidemic, and this is what they're doing at the church, and I don't know if I can do it. I don't know what to say. I don't know how God could let this happen. I'm trying to say this, and I knew that you had, you know, a deep heart for this particular area, and you still love Jesus, and you still believe in His goodness.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, please help me understand. And I remember what you said. You said, we can't stop all evil from happening, but we can overcome it. And we can't do everything, but we can do something. Right? And so that made me be able to breathe for a minute and listen. And then I said, can you come with me to South Africa?
Yep.
And go with me to this church and help.
It's yeah, and your trip was like in 3 weeks.
Right. So when you came to South Africa, I'll let you explain like what happened in your heart about the whole thing.
My first thought was that I was going to support you, to be an intercessor, be a mama, just to be there. But God had a little bit more on His mind for me, and I really connected with the